like me, you've just seen a description of an amazing long-term investment in coffee growing in the Democratic Republic of Congo, um, and really what you're also seeing is some of the state-of-the-art gender equity work that's also happening on the planet. So you've got really we're working with one of the least developed countries on the planet, and making a significant investment, but that investment is being made in such a way that the entire community benefits. This is very innovative, and that this very innovative approach is taking place in a very difficult part of the world, I think is extremely commendable. And it also really outlines that this is a rare opportunity to support this work. As you can see, the investment there has been really largely designed to increase the quality of the coffee, to bring that coffee up to specialty standards, to increase the value of that coffee and therefore the prosperity of those growing it. And so this is sort of like a race. You've got a relay race, and the baton is now being handed to industry to really give this further legs and to finish the race and to get everybody to receive the benefits and win in the end. So with me today, I have representatives from the industry. We have 2 roasters, 3 export importers on the call. I'll briefly introduce people, and then we'll get right into the question. Really, the objective here is we want to encourage you to utilize this portal, and we really want this portal to be an entry way for you to not only discover great coffees, new business partners, but also as an entree into their work and as a way that you can actually partner at a deeper level within their gender equity action plans. I mean, this is just an incredible opportunity. So with that, let me first introduce Kelly Amoroso from Allegro Coffee. Coffee buyer, coffee trader, and Kelly, how long have you been in the coffee business?
A while, a little over 20 years.
So you've been buying coffee a long time, and you've been buying coffee in the DRC for how many years?
So Allegro has been buying coffee in the DRC since about 2016, 2017 with the Congo Lugano. Yes, and it's been a great journey, and they've been a great partner, and we're really excited to see that they're part of this gender equity program.
Super. And Kyle Tush from Counterculture, Counterculture Roasters. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been working at, how long have you been buying coffee, and how long have you been buying it in the DRC?
Hi, Greg. Yeah, so I have been with Counterculture just under 8 years now. I started on the roasting team and then kind of moved into quality control and buying about 5 years ago. So Counterculture began buying coffee in Congo, I believe it was right around 2013. And since 2017, we've been also working with the Lugano Cooperative, more specifically. And yeah, I'd echo what Kelly said. They've been a really great partner, and the coffees have been fantastic also.
Fantastic. And then, of course, key partnerships in moving coffee out of Congo. We have Susan Heller from Atlas. Susan, you can introduce yourself too.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I have been with Atlas for about a dozen years now, and we have been buying coffee from Congo for about that long, and currently have worked long-term with Lugano Cooperative as well as Rebuild Women's Hope on Ijwi Island. Happy to be here.
Super. Jim Nkogwe from Mighty Peace Coffee. He is our Congolese representative here, and so I'm just thrilled to have you on this panel as well to give us really a perspective as a Congolese. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Mighty Peace Coffee.
Absolutely. So Mighty Peace Coffee, we're founded in 2018. We're a small but mighty team. There's 6 of us. I'm in New York City. I have partners in Madison, Wisconsin. The rest, and we also have, most importantly, our Congolese partner, Linda, is our Chief Quality Officer. And actually 2 weeks ago, she became Congo's first woman Q grader. She passed her test in Kenya a couple of weeks ago. So she made history. She probably should be speaking instead of me, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, we've been around for 3 years. And honestly, everything I know about coffee, I learned in the past 3 years. So, hearing Kelly's been for 20 years, I have a lot left to learn, trying to learn every day. Yeah, we've been around for 3 years, and we work with 6 different cooperatives. A few of them were actually on the list of the different cooperatives part of the program. And we're always looking to grow and give additional farmers and cooperatives access to the North American market. Yeah.
Super. And Martin Van Keulen from this side up, tell us about yourself and how long you've been buying coffee from the DRC.
Hi, I guess I'm representing the European market here. I've been working in coffee for the last eight or 9 years and been in the purchasing role for around 4 years. And this is also the point that we started in buying coffee from Congo. And what we really try to do is try to match coffee farmers from all around the world to coffee roasters and beyond. And this is also why I find this a very exciting program to be part of and to talk for and with them. Yeah.
Super, thank you. So Kelly, I'm gonna put you on the spot here first and ask you. This is a general conversation though, and everybody will have an opportunity to answer this question. But how do you envision actually using this portal? I mean, how and why is this portal going to be helpful to you? This is a new tool for you. You've been buying coffee in the DRC for some time. This is a new arrow in your quiver.
Yeah, actually, thanks, Greg. And I just want to say bonjour to everybody in Congo. It's always nice to be connected with our counterparts there. So here at Allegro, we have our responsible sourcing initiatives that kind of encompass social sustainability, environmental transparency, traceability, and then also economical sustainability. So we see the Buyer-Supplier Alliance portal as kind of a tool for us to be able to, for a couple of reasons. One is in situations like this, where we already have a partner that we're working with at origin, how we can further support their initiatives in the gender equity programs. What we can access in this portal, it looks like, is an action plan that the different cooperatives have created through their virtual journey phases. And that allows us to look at what their action plan is. And then it creates an opportunity for us to support that, perhaps with, a quality premium or a social premium, or adding something to make it more sustainable for them, and let them know that we want to support their efforts, that they have a business partner that is supporting those efforts on the commercial side of things to advance their gender equity programs. So that's for existing partners. We can see what they're doing, in all the organizations across the globe. And then the other area where we feel like it would be a useful tool is in situations where we want to find new partners or a new region that we want to enter into. This gives us a platform and a launching pad for us to be able to, start with those partners that we recognize and we know have already begun gender equity within their strategy and their plan, and they're committed to that. So that's a good launch pad for us.
Super, thank you. Kyle, I'd like you to weigh in on that too, as another roaster.
Yeah, I think Kelly covered a lot of the really kind of high level things that, I share her sentiment and how all of those things are important. One, for existing partners, but also, in the event that we can take on more opportunities with new suppliers too. I think, one of the things that's come up, not just in Congo, but almost everywhere I visited, visiting producers, is, when you ask, how can we support you? What can counterculture do, to help your groups? And most often the answers that come back are, pay more for coffee, or buy more coffee. It can be really simple sometimes in that way. So, you know, I think a tool like this, whether it's for counterculture, like really large roasters, really tiny roasters, just to have a central place where that kind of market linkage piece can come together, is really valuable on kind of both sides of the value stream. And then, you know, I think beyond that too, it's there's a lot of research out there that gender equity, you know, programs like the GALS initiative is something that we talked a lot about, Greg and Kimberly. Like these things, they really help. You know, with the higher end specialty, sure, we can pay high prices for coffee, but these are tools that help to ensure that, you know, most of that value is getting back into the communities in a more impactful way too. So, you know, I think it's not just enough to pay high prices for coffee, but it's about, you know, following that trail and kind of how those prices are getting filtered back to communities. And, you know, tools like this, again, are just kind of one indicator or kind of check that cooperatives or associations that are part of this program are kind of engaged and asking those questions and making sure they're getting kind of the most bang for the buck, again, on both sides of the supply stream there.
Thank you. So Susan, Atlas has really been in the forefront of opening the DRC and representing DRC cooperatives to roasters around the world, in North America in particular. Why is this important? Why is being able to demonstrate, you know, why is it important that these co-ops that have begun this journey are successful?
Great question. Well, I think it's important that they're successful because when we think of gender equity, you know, even beyond coffee, when we invest in women, we're really investing in communities, and women take care of their communities. And this model, which feels so holistic, you know, is a foundation for improving the strength of cooperatives, for improving the economy of the cooperative. It isn't just let's do this because it's a good idea, even though it is, but also that there's economic incentive because as someone spoke earlier, you know, coffee can be a stabilizing force in areas that are really unstable and need positive economic influence. So I think that's important. Also, I think a great reason for this portal is Atlas, we love Congolese coffee. We have tight partnerships. We buy from 2 cooperatives right now. There are so many more cooperatives that are in Congo that are doing really good work, doing great coffee, that we just don't have the capacity because we don't have the demand. We want more demand, and you know, I think everyone on this call knows that, but I receive inquiries all the time wanting us to buy more coffee. And so I think the gender equity portal is a way for more voices to be heard and for more cooperatives to be seen in the work that they're doing, whether they've started that journey, whether they have expressed interest in starting. So like Kyle said, that market access piece is so important. And likewise, when there's roasters that I like, you know, I'd really like to buy Congolese coffee, even if they're not integrally involved in the gender equity portal, they can go there and say, okay, who's already begun this journey? Maybe I can, you know, even a consumer, maybe I'll go to that roaster and support that through my purchases. So.
Excellent, thank you. Martin, you're working with roasters all the time. This Side Up sort of describes itself as a direct trade facilitator to some degree. Tell us about how gender equity is factoring into roasters that you're working with, and what are the benefits, or what do you like about this portal? How might you envision using this portal with your clients?
Oh, for us, it's like to take maybe a small step back. It's like when I talk about Congolese coffee to my client, it has this stigma that it's a difficult coffee. You know, it's difficult to engage, it's difficult to get in touch with the farmers, it's difficult to do something special. Like it's not like as easy as a single farmer lot from Latin America. So like, and our clients, they often, like they're all shapes and sizes, but especially the smaller roasters, they like to have something they can own or they can participate in, or they can engage their clients to join. And I think this gender equity program and how easy it is for roasters and their clients to engage on something. It's like, okay, hey guys, it's maybe for like, what is it, like $2.5 grand we can get started, and that's for a lot of small roasters that's actually quite reachable. And what it does for the farmers is it creates this direct link, you know, instead of being this huge corporative connected to this anonymous market or vice versa. You create something that you can do together, and I think that's amazing. And I think working on gender equity obviously is incredibly important. And as my colleagues have mentioned here already, it's super important to stabilize and to use coffee to stabilize in this region. And I think it's a great tool to do so.
So one of the things that I'm hearing here too, you know, gender equity development for all of us, we are all on a gender equity journey. We're all learning more about gender equity every day. We're bringing higher levels of gender equity into our language, into our businesses, into our policies and procedures, and into every aspect of what we're doing. And so it does strike me that long-term partnership is key to keep this train on the tracks and to keep it rolling. And so I'm seeing that ability to partner on the gender equity plan and to develop that long-term buy-in and that long-term story and narrative could be very valuable. And Jim, I want to talk to you a little bit about that too, just in terms of, you know, we've got 10 co-ops currently from the DRC on this portal, representing thousands of farmers. You know, farmers learn from other farmers, and farmers are influenced by other farmers. How do you think, you know, if these farmers are prospered and are prosperous and are selling their coffee to new markets because of their gender equity work, how do you think that may influence the region, or how do you think that may influence other coffee farmers and co-ops in the region?
Definitely, it's a great question. And from what I've seen, you know, because I mentioned we work with 6 different cooperatives, is that information travels very well in the community. So I know they have they have the local coffee association in Congo, and basically everybody knows everybody. So whether you're a buyer or a roaster, if you have a good reputation, they'll know. If you have a bad reputation, they'll know too. If there's a type of processing method that's gaining traction, that information will spread. So I believe, you know, the ones that are already involved can definitely help spread the word around the others that may not see the value yet. So that becomes more widespread and everybody sees that there are benefits beyond the impact of the local community, because we know when women spend more of their money on the community and their family than men do, so that they'll know that the impact can be greater if they also put in place some of these initiatives to, you know, reduce the gender gap in coffee. So I think information will spread very, very well, because again, it already flows very freely right now. Even though, you know, you would assume there's competition, people hoard information, but that's not been the case in our experience with all the cooperatives we work with. Like they all work well together and share information and resources sometimes too. Yeah.
Excellent. And this is a question really I want to open up to the whole group and just, you know, chime in if you're if you have something that you'd like to say, but partnering, being able to, the importance of being able to actually understand sort of more intimately, like a gender equity development plan that an organization is moving forward, seeing that they've developed that plan, what does that tell you about this co-op as a business partner? I mean, you know, you're evaluating business partners. The DRC is a very difficult area to work, as we know. Does does this give you more confidence that a long-term business relationship is viable? Is it an indicator in any way of what sort of business practices you might expect?
Yeah, I'd say I've definitely had that experience. I've had the opportunity to visit South Kivu twice, and to visit Mungano specifically. And the last time I was there in 2018, we scheduled a meeting with the board, and we sat down and did one of these exercises that comes out of the gender action learning system. So the board, you know, is a 50-50 split of male and female. And then we sat down and went through this kind of like 5-year vision quest that you could tell that they'd been through this process a few times, but they were also still very actively engaged in it and trying to come up with new ideas too. And so, you know, there's so much fantastic coffee in the DRC. And, you know, I had the experience kind of sitting there watching this kind of like active kind of planning session going on that was very gender inclusive, and just kind of thinking to myself like, wow, this is awesome. You know, if they have the capacity to use these tools, and, you know, it didn't seem like an act, you know, for the buyer. Like you could tell these were things that were pretty integrated into the fabric of the cooperative leadership. Yeah, it's just an indicator that, you know, they've got it together. Yeah, the coffee is good, but they're also kind of working in other areas to improve the co-op and to improve you know, livelihood of its members too. So I definitely think it's a strong indicator for just strong organization and you know, being able to engage with a group that's really cares about these things. It's important to us as well.
And Susan, I see you nodding your head.
Oh, yes. I was just thinking about a story also at Mungano, where I visited in 2018, and my friend Piscazi had been doing some gender equity trainings. And I met a moto driver who was just responsible, wasn't a part of the cooperative at all. And so he was responsible for taking the trainer, Piscazi, to these, you know, gender equity trainings, and was sitting around, you know, waiting to do the transport back, and started listening to some of the gender equity stuff and thought, you know, I think that I'd like to have a vision plan, and I kind of want to own my own moto company. And by the time I had met him, he owned one motorcycle and was saving up for another. And so I think beyond just saying, like, it's more of an inclusive process. So it's not just saying, let's separate women's coffee or let's do this, but seeing how these gender equity initiatives are influencing, changing cultural perceptions and influencing the community, and being inclusive of men as well, I think is really impactful. So I was smiling just thinking about that, because it's like, there's proof in the pudding. You see case by case that this is having ripple effects in the larger community, which says a lot when, you know, DRC specifically has, because of its very fraught history, which the US is intricately tied to, among other nations, and contributing to some of these problems, has a lot of, you know, gender-based violence. So as these groups are doing the work, it's really neat to see the larger impacts.
Excellent. Martin, I know the whole ethos at the Side Up is a very farmer centric, very farmer focused. I'm wondering too, in your experience working with roasters that are trying to really, you know, they're working on gender equity within their own organizations and making sure their own organizations are gender equitable. But then the next step of that, of course, is to try to drive gender equity down through your supply chain. And that can be extremely difficult and limiting in many parts of the world. And so I'm wondering, from just being able to sell this coffee, How valuable is this level of gender equity development in terms of adding value to the coffee?
I think it's great added value, and basically from the premises that if you want to make this a success, you need to do it as a value chain. So you need to be engaged, all of you, like the corporate, the importer, the exporter, the roaster, the end clients, like you all have a stake. And because you're all engaged, it drives to extra value. You talk about everything. You get to know each other. You get to know the ins and outs of particular families, of particular farms. It's gender equity as it's on its own has added value, absolutely. But I think like the process of getting to gender equity has like a multiplier effect, like you as a value chain, you're really like working on some of the really actually difficult stuff. And because you take such a kind of a set the bar so high, you touch upon so many great things that I think like the relationship and thus the added value is hard to measure, but it's huge. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for this. I couldn't be more encouraged by this effort, and just looking at development projects that have happened over the last 10 years, really what we're seeing here from USAID and UK aid and in this particular increasing value chains project is really some of the most state-of-the-art development work happening. And I think also it's important for roasters who are really trying to understand, how do I communicate gender equity to my customers? How do I use gender equity to actually bolster my brand and to express this particular value in my brand? I think the action plans provide such a rich narrative that go so far beyond, just sort of women's ownership or women's representation. Going past some of the early KPIs, the early key performance indicators of gender equity, where really, do you have women working there? Are women in positions of leadership? And that's super important, and it's an initial step. But this is an opportunity here to really move gender equity through organizations that have both men and women largely cooperating together for the betterment of their communities. So the narrative here is quite rich, that you can begin to pull off and customize to your individual needs as you read these gender action plans. And then also, I think it's important to note that the action plan gives you an ability to have a conversation with the co-ops about gender equity. You can ask them specifically about how they're doing on this or that aspect of their plan and begin to get that rich narrative. And that rich narrative is really important for you to understand, not only to help you sell the coffee, but to help you to further gender equity as one of your goals. So with that, I'll wrap it up, and thank you all for joining me here today and giving me your time and for talking to the community.